In today's show, the Blazers just keep winning, and there's nothing you can do about it. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine, make it your first listen, and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're talking about a beatdown. The Blazers just keep winning, and they beat the snot out of another team, another game that wasn't close, another game that included garbage time, a team waving the white flag. The Blazers just keep doing it. Winners of 6 of 7. They're hooping. They beat the Magic. They came back from a pretty slow start to thrash the Magic over the final 45 minutes of this game. It was not competitive. They win it with the young guys. They win it with balance. They didn't just rely on a very similar formula. They're getting it done in all different types of ways. And they're on a heater now for about 2 weeks that is, it feels real. It feels, I don't know real like how long I'm willing to stretch out the word real. And we'll talk about that in today's show. But like, when you watch them play and they play well, it doesn't feel like they're cheating you or something. They're just playing well because they've got a lot going for them right now. We're going to talk about all that. We'll do our fastest recap in the West and talk about the Magic game, talk about Scoot, talk about Shaden, talk about Tumani, the tone setter, and kind of just where this team is, because where they are is puzzling, bizarre, and pretty dang fun. Let's do what we do, though. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers open the game terribly. They were terrible. That's one of the best parts about this game, is that in the opening 3 minutes, it's like, oh no. Like, this is like, just like brutal regression is coming to beat you over the head. They start in the first 3.5 minutes, 0 of 2 from the floor, 0 of 2 from the free throw line, and 2 turnovers, and the Magic are up 10-0. And honestly, it's like, good thing they're up 10-0. There was a possession where Paolo Banchero missed 2 layups, like two open shots right at the rim. Could have been worse. And maybe that was a sign of things to come. But the Blazers don't score until Tumani scores on a drive 3 minutes and 26 seconds into the game. Yikes. And they're down 35-28 after one. Giving up 35 points to the Magic would prove to be pretty hard to do, again, because the Magic just stopped scoring. The Blazers cranked up the defense. I thought Tumani Camara was a great tone setter in this game. Had a great block on Paolo Banchero at the rim. Just a fearless type of block at the rim. He set the tone, and then everybody kept scoring. Really, what happened in that first quarter was that DeAndre Ayton got rolling. He was the one who missed those 2 free throws early, but he got rolling, and it kind of 10 points in the quarter, and it kind of kept the Blazers like right there. And then once they were right there, the Magic were in trouble. So the Blazers are down 7 after one, but it felt like it could have been worse. But down 7, giving up 35 points is like, okay, the Blazers need to figure out how to stop this team from scoring, and they do. The Magic would score a total of 38 points over the next 2 quarters. They would not hit 21 in a quarter for the remainder of the game, 18, 20, and 17 in the following 3 quarters. Blazers take a 62-53 lead into the break. And all of that kind of like, oh no, what's going to happen, panicky stuff goes away a little bit, because Scoot Henderson has 9 in the second quarter. Shaden Sharp has 9 in the second quarter on 4 of 5 shooting. And the Blazers rip off a 34-18 second quarter and go into the half up 62-53. And the Blazers are hooping. After that start, they're shooting 58% in the first half. They've made 6 of 11 threes. They're making twos. They're not a huge volume, but they're 6 of 11 from deep in that first half. And all of a sudden, like, their offense is the one that is troublesome, and the Magic, an elite defensive team, but certainly not stopping the Blazers in the second half. And Portland just pours it on in the third quarter, led by as many as 25. In fact, they were up 25, and the Magic made a little run, 9-2 burst to end the third quarter that made it only an 18-point game in entering the fourth. Only 18, right? Like, the Blazers were beating them that bad that it was like, well, it's only 18, you know, they've cut it to 18, but they never threatened in the fourth. The Blazers cruise. We get 5 full minutes, really, by the way I do it, 4 minutes and 48 seconds of true, like, flag waving garbage time. Blazers go on to win 119-90. That's your fastest recap in the West. They beat the snot out of them. They thrashed them. Pushed the lead to as many as 31-29. It wasn't close. Now, the Magic are a mess right now. They've lost 7 of 8. They lost 10 of 13. When the Blazers played them last week, they held them to a season-low 79 points. The Magic scored 11 more points in this game. I mentioned this kind of when the Blazers beat the Magic, that that was their 5th straight loss, and it's like Orlando's in a bad spot, right? And I mentioned this the other night when they beat the Bucks. It's like the Bucks are on a second night of a back-to-back. The Blazers have a rest advantage. At some point, this is exactly what good teams do, right? Like the 82-game season has quirks and has, you have your games where you're at a deep disadvantage and a game where you have a distinct advantage and you either are taken advantage of or do the advantage taking. You meet a team when they're on a hot streak. You meet a team when they're, ravaged by injuries. You meet a team when they're just forgotten how to score points, like the Orlando Magic. The Magic were rolling at the beginning of the year, but they cannot score with regularity at this point. Some of that is injuries, and some of that I think is just kind of cold spell stuff, and maybe Franz Wagner coming back to earth a little bit, although he was totally fine in this game. He had 24, but as I mentioned in the first time they played the Magic, and I mentioned against the Bucks, it's like, yeah, there's some reality here that the other team is not in a great place or had a disadvantage because they traveled the night before and you didn't. But this is what good teams do. They beat the brakes off of a team that they have a little bit of an edge on. Oh, they're tired because they traveled. Oh, they're just playing the worst stretch of basketball of the season. Well, what do? You beat them by 29. This isn't like they edged out a win over a plucky Magic team and oh wow, they won. They a couple shots go their way. They beat them by 30. It wasn't close. They're up 25 in the third quarter. This is what dominant teams look like. This is what the best indicator for good teams is point differential. It really is. And that is best understood over long periods of time, right? Point differential over a month or 40 games or whatever, right? You're like, oh, they're freaking +2. They're probably not very good. They play every game even. But it can be understood in any individual game. If you let teams crawl back into games and let them make it close, it's probably a sign that you are either unserious. Some good teams give up leads and just let teams come back, every time you watch the Phoenix Suns, or who the Blazers played twice in the next 2 games against Phoenix. I'm really cursing Portland. I'm sorry. Or you're just not talented enough, so you can't hold off a team because you can't get enough stops. You can't score, whatever it is. The Blazers are they've thrashed a couple teams in a row. They've thrashed some good teams. The Bucks and the Magic are probably not inner circle contenders. Certainly the Bucks are better than the Magic. The Magic are more like a low-level playoff team at this point in the East, or somewhere around there, just avoiding the play-in type of team in a bad Eastern Conference. But they thrashed them. And what I liked about this game is they didn't just do it with Denny Avdija scores 30. Obviously, Denny Avdija scored 30 against the Bucks, and it was extremely fun. But what I mean by that is I probably don't project Denny Avdija into the future as a dude who scores 30 every night. So it's if you're winning because he's playing maybe a little bit above his offensive ceiling, then it's okay, well, this is going to come back to life. But Denny just kind of quiet. And they get contributions from other dudes. And that's the mark of a good team too, right? Is that you isn't just I hope he saves us. I hope that this is the one dude puts on his cape and saves us. Winning in a variety of ways. Winning because you get contributions from other spots. The Blazers, every time it's played less than 22 minutes and wasn't particularly good. And it didn't matter. Barely anyone noticed. The Blazers behind DeAndre Ayton, behind Scoot, behind Shaedon Sharpe, and a really nice tone-setting game from the wings, particularly Toumani Camara. They beat the snot out of him. Let's talk a little bit more about the snot in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you that this show is brought to you by our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes used to be waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. All right. Scoot Henderson was really good in this game. He started because Jeremy Grant did not play. We had no JG in this one. He was out with right ankle soreness. He twisted his ankle and missed. Only played 2 minutes in the second half the other night against Milwaukee and was not cleared in this one. So they started Scoot. We got an Ant, Scoot, Denny, Toumani, DeAndre Ayton starting lineup, and all Scoot did was take distinct advantage of it. What I like about Scoot is he's been jerked around a little bit. It's like he's playing his best basketball. He goes to the bench. He had some good games off the bench. He had some bad games off the bench. He kind of like played about as well as you can play, and was rewarded with just being like, the team is doing something different. Sorry, like health has dictated we're doing something different. And then when he had some rocky moments off the bench, he didn't fade. He wasn't like, dang it, I'm not getting rewarded for playing well, and now I'm playing bad again, and like have it be a big deal. You chop wood and carry water, before and after enlightenment, as some have said, and he was good in this game, and he continues to stay heater of a January. I'll mention more on that in a second. He was really good. I thought Shaedon Sharpe, particularly in that second quarter when he got going, he was really good. He had 9 in that second quarter, but it reminded me of his first shift against Milwaukee, where he had 9 points like right away in the first quarter, dunk, midi 3, and it's like same thing again. He kind of like gets going and is aggressive right away. He got into a little tiff with Goga Bitadze when he pushed Goga on a rebound, and Goga did not like it, and kind of went after him, and they had words, and it was like. Is this the first time you've ever been pushed going for a rebound while playing? Like, I don't think it was like he pushed him. I think for sure Shaedon pushed him, but it wasn't dirty or anything, in my opinion. And Goga didn't like it, and Shaedon Sharpe let him know. He's like, "What do you want to do?" He didn't back down. He was, "What do you want to do?" And afterwards, Chauncey Billups and Scoot and DA were asked about it. But Chauncey Billups talking about like, I love a mad Shaedon Sharpe. He played mad. He played with energy. But it wasn't just one good quarter, one really good shift. This was a whole good game. And in the second half, Shaedon Sharpe's hitting shots like Shaedon Sharpe's taking and making shots with real confidence. He finished 9 of 14, including 3 of 6 from 3. Every time Shaedon Sharpe makes threes, you can see the vision. Obviously, that has not been a consistent thing for him this year, and maybe he's never like a high-level three-point shooter. But every time he flirts with being a high-level three-point shooter, it's like, yeah, that dude's going to be awesome. Like, he's going to be awesome because he can get to so many shots, and he can get to the rim, and he can score off the ball, and he has a lot of individual shot creation tonight. One midi that was just like so hard. Give me the ball, I'm going to shoot it. But he had a step back 3 from the right side that was just like in rhythm. That's a hard shot, but in rhythm, on balance, takes a good, looks really good coming out of his hand, cash. And every time they go in, it's like it feels really good with Shea. He hasn't been bad over the last 2 weeks, but he's just been kind of meh, kind of quiet. Like, he had a pretty good game against the Bulls, but like in general, it's like he's kind of been fine. And here and there, he's had his minutes pinched just because of the way the rotation works now. But like, I don't think we've had one of these games from Shaedon Sharpe in probably 10 or 12 days, maybe 2 weeks, where it's like, oh yeah, he's really good. And like 23 on 9 of 14 shooting. He's not doing a bunch else in the box score, 2 points, 2 boards. But like they crushed in his minutes. He played 33 minutes because he was rolling and Scoot was rolling. Anthony Simons didn't play. And just played 21 minutes and 29 seconds. He played 21 and a half minutes. He was 3 of 9. And in fact, like among the Blazers regulars, he was the only one who kind of had a ho-hum game. I mentioned that Denny had a quiet night. He still took 8 free throws because he's relentless and he's good at getting to the free throw line. But like 11, 5, and 5 is not nothing. He like still fills out the box score. It's just like, I think it was a good sign that they didn't need like, how about a 25, Denny's had some like 20-10 5 games recently or like just shy of it. And it's like they didn't need a crazy big night from Denny and they beat the doors off anyone. Obviously, if Denny has a good night too, that's also good. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like the balance, being able to do things in different ways. I thought Tumani, particularly early in the game, was such a good tone setter in terms of defensive intensity and defensive playmaking. Not a big box score night, but I think like watch the games, you'll really appreciate what he does. And DeAndre Ayton just had like a classic DeAndre Ayton game. One of those games where he just doesn't miss any shots. 10 of 12 on 22 points. But DeAndre Ayton did twice things you never see him do. Grabbed a rebound, pushed in transition, got inside the foul line, turned his back to a defender, and hit Shaedon Sharpe streaking on the fast break for a bucket. So DeAndre Ayton took like 7 dribbles and then made a pass to someone on the move for a direct assist. You never see him do that. He barely dribbles. And he certainly isn't like a natural playmaker, but he was just feeling it. And he was like, give me the ball, I'm ready to go. Got a loose ball rebound and push. And because he got going early, like he had 10 points in the first quarter, like DeAndre Ayton was playing with a little bit of juice. In the second half, he got the ball on the break and dribbled from behind half court all the way to the rim and dunked. He took like 8 dribbles before dunking. You never see him do that. And those aren't even like the special ones you appreciate with DA. It's like the jump shooting is what you appreciate because that's like the skill that makes him special. But he was 10 of 12 with 22 points. Just like just what DA does when DeAndre Ayton has good nights, he shoots like 85% from the field. He's such a rare player where it's just like, some guys have, I guess like Daniel Gafford does it, but Daniel Gafford does it with like dunks, right? And Gafford will go like 2 weeks without missing. But like DA's doing it with 14 footers. He just makes everything. And it was another really solid game from him. I don't think it was as loud and as physical, but you still saw some of that physicality, saw some of the intensity, and just like him playing with a little bit of joy, him playing like he's really feeling it, and him playing with a little bit of joy and taking and like dribbling up the court and taking some of that ownership. I'm ready to spread my wings. It's like kind of the thing that coaches and fans begging DA to do. Hey, can you do a little bit more? Obviously, I don't think you want him like dribbling coast to coast a whole lot. Like the handle isn't exactly super tight, but it's fun. It was fun to see him kind of just like, I'm going to do something. I'm feeling a certain type of way that I'm going to do something I just straight up never do. He was good. Scoot was good. Shea was good. First time in their career, according to Tom Haberstroh on social media, that all 3 of them had been over 20 points per game. Jabari Walker briefly came in. He hit a corner, hit a couple threes, hit a corner 3, and he played in this one. The Blazers kept this rotation tight again. They kept it tight. Donovan Clingan barely played, 7 minutes and 44 seconds. But it was basically the starters that I mentioned, Ant, Scoot, DA2, and Denny. Shaedon off the bench, Jabari off the bench, Delano off the bench. It was basically those 8 guys. Like Chauncey Billups is still playing this thing to win. Like this is not, let's play 11 guys and get some minutes and all of those things. I think Chauncey deserves credit for this. I've been critical of him, but mostly critical of him in terms of like process. There's been some X's and O's things that I have complained about, and then the offense being a little bit vanilla. But mostly with Chauncey, it's like process. Are you asking guys, maybe over the years, are you asking guys to do the things they're best at? Are you maximizing your guys? And maybe this season, it's like, are you on the same page with the rest of the franchise? But like, this team's playing their best basketball of the season. I think they had a stretch a couple weeks ago when they were playing their best basketball of the season, and then they took a little lull. And I think the real test of a team and a coach is like when you play well and then you start to suck again, how do you respond? And there have been times over the last, particularly the last season, where it was like when things went south, they just were south. The Blazers just lived below the equator from then on. It was just like, yeah, sorry, we're going to be bad now, and we'll have one out of the next 13 games we'll play pretty well, but for the most part, we'll have some bad times. We'll lose by 60 twice in the span of 2 months. It was a little more than 2 months. I believe it was 77 days, and by believe, I remember doing the pod. I think Chauncey Billups deserves credit for where they're at. He does. I'm always going to give players the credit first. That's how I am. I'm also going to criticize players first. I think players play. That's a thing I believe. Coaches do some stuff, and one of the things that Chauncey Billups has these guys is playing hard and free. And that has not always felt that way. Sometimes you got playing hard. Sometimes you got them playing free. You rarely got them like they were playing together and with purpose and with effort all in the same time. And also the shots went in. You make 12 of 25 threes. It feels a little bit better. But that isn't like a crazy 3-point shooting night. 25 threes is straight up not enough to even take. They got points when they wanted. They got points. They had 48 points in the paint and 24 points from the 3-point line. That's a pretty good little number, including when you take 25 free throws. They were, they were a team playing with purpose. So that's what I want to ask here to close the show. Is this team good? What's going on? Is this team good? Let's talk about that. Join me in the third segment, won't you? First, though, let's talk about FanDuel, because Super Bowl 59 is here, and you get to watch the Chiefs, because every year in the final game of the NFL season, we get to watch the Kansas City Chiefs, and this time they're going to play the Philadelphia Eagles. They did that a couple years ago. They're doing it again. It's one game, two teams, endless possibilities, and there's no way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook, whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or betting on the coin toss. FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action, and they got live betting all game long, so you can adjust your bets if that's something you need to do as the game unfolds, and you can have a little something to do from kickoff till the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to use and navigate, so if you want to find live bets in the middle of the game, you can go do it. Plus, you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets during the Super Bowl. Download the app or head over to FanDuel.com to get started, and you bet just $5. And if you win that $5 bet, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. I get a lot of emails when the Blazers win. I don't get as many emails when the Blazers lose, but many of my listeners, and I appreciate y'all. I really do. I love the community we've created here. I'm recording. It's after midnight, and I'm recording this podcast. I love doing it. Right. But I hear from you guys when I hear from many of you when they do well, and a lot of the question is hey Mike, you've been saying this team stinks for so long. Are you dumb? Are you ready to admit that you're a big dumb dummy and ready to come to the other side? I've been telling you they're actually good, and look, it's proof they're actually good. Or some people are like, "Uh-oh, I think they're winning too much." But I will say I'll address the first part and then the winning too much second. But yeah, I have been waiting for the Blazers to start losing. Absolutely, not in a way that I'm anticipating and enjoying it. Just I spend a lot of my week thinking about the Portland Trail Blazers. And when I think about the game, I think yes, they will probably lose to the Orlando Magic tonight, and then I will do this on the podcast. I watch the games mostly agnostic to the results, right? But hell, it's a lot easier to do when they win. It's more fun. But I'm not gonna cry either way. But yeah, I have been waiting over the course of them winning 6 of 7 for them to lose these games, for them to crumble, for them to have bad nights, for them to kind of come back to earth. And you know what they haven't done? They haven't done that. They haven't come back to earth. They don't care about my personal opinions. They're just playing really well. So I'm maybe not going to say like I'm a big dumb dummy and they're actually good, but what I will say is they have been legitimately good for 2 weeks. According to Cleaning the Glass, over the last 8 games, which spans the last 2 weeks, the Blazers have the 3rd best defense in the NBA. They're just dominating teams. Some of that is because of what Chauncey Billups did. This is why he deserves credit. They're just playing that bigger lineup. Moving Scoot and Shaedon Sharpe to the bench puts good defenders on the court. Denny and Tu and Jeremy Grant, that's size on the wing. That was kind of what they started the season with when Shaedon Sharpe was hurt. That was the vision. It didn't work the first 10 games because Denny didn't know how he was going to fit and all of those things. And then once he figured it out, like once he clearly figured it out, it's like, yeah, he's hooping. Tumani's hooping. And Jeremy Grant, in a role where he doesn't have to be like running around screens and guarding point guards, can be a pretty darn good defender. And we've seen some nights from him, particularly over the last 2 weeks, where he's had some really good defensive games with his length and physicality and all of the things that make Jeremy Grant an intriguing secondary defender type. 3rd in defense in the NBA, according to Cleaning the Glass, over the last 8 games. Blazers 6-2 in that stretch. The 3rd best defense in the NBA. 3rd stingiest defense in terms of points allowed per possession. During that same stretch, they're 17th on offense, which doesn't sound great because that's below average. But like on the year, they're in the 20s for both of those numbers. I don't have it in front of me. I think they're 25th in offense, 26th in defense, off the top of my head, according to Cleaning the Glass. But I don't have the screen pulled up. But like, so to jump from like one of the bottom 4 or 6 offenses in the league for most of the season, which also includes the stretch, but like to be a slightly below average offense and a very good defense over the stretch, they're 7th in net rating. They're out. That net rating is the difference in points allowed versus points scored per 100 possessions. So like, how are you winning your minutes? The Blazers are winning their minutes at or losing them, I guess. The 7th best net in the league over the last 2 weeks. They're just playing really well. I don't know if I'm ready to say like, yeah, they're good, right? Because I don't know. It's any 7-game sample size suggests that there's another 90% of the season there, and I think you always take the bigger sample size. But also like, typically how this thing works is it's a snowball. Once it starts rolling, it's like, you are the, I almost quoted a certain former vice president. You're the collection of all your experiences or whatever. But like, yeah, like the fact that the Blazers played all the games before this and now they're playing well suggests that they may have learned some things from their prior experiences and they've like built on that. So again, like this is why the coaching staff deserves some credit. And some of this just because Scoot Henderson just is better. I mentioned Shaedon Sharpe's been kind of quiet, but like over the last couple of weeks, Scoot has been good. Scoot is wrapping up a very good January. I'm recording this in the early hours of January 31st, and this is Friday, January 31st show. What up? Thanks for listening. In January, Scoot Henderson is shooting 43.8% from 3 on 4.6 attempts per game. Yeah, that seems good. Like, it's so hard to know with the sample size stuff what is real, right? I think like what the more statistically oriented folks in the media world say is that it takes like something like 750 3-point attempts for shooting to normalize. That's why when Al-Farouq Aminu had that 1 year when he shot 38% from 3, smarter people were saying like, well, he took 400 of them, just wait, and then like he didn't get back to that. It's like you can have outlier stretches, and that was like for Chief, that was an outlier 70-game stretch. Like he had a really good season. And I don't mean to dismiss this from Scoot, because when I watch him, it just looks cleaner. It looks cleaner. What I mean to say is like I don't want to be too definitive here, but I know what my eyeballs are seeing. And my eyeballs are seeing someone who is getting his feet under him cleaner, who is going up in a more, he still has, I don't know if it's like, it's always the same exact release. Sometimes it looks a little bit different and the ball comes out of his hands a little bit different. I don't think it's like this crazy repeatable motion. But I will say, particularly his base, particularly his feet when I watch him shoot. And I've watched back some Scoot 3-pointer highlights over the last couple of weeks just to kind of get a sense of this. Last couple of days, not weeks. I haven't been poring over the film. I'm talking like I did this on Wednesday afternoon. But like his feet just look better. Like he's getting on balance, and he's making, as I mentioned on a previous Blazer broadcast, and then Tom Haberstroh shared this again on social media today. It's this one of the Blazers broadcasters, for those of you who aren't plugged into the Blazers television, but like his pull-up numbers are really good in January, and that's crucial for Scoot. Obviously, the catch-and-shoot shots are easier. He hasn't been as good on catch-and-shoot shots, but like him, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's a point guard. Him taking threes off the dribble is a big deal, and making him is a big deal. That's a really nice development. Am I ready to say that Scoot Henderson is a 45% three-point shooter? No, but I am ready to say that Scoot Henderson is a much, much better three-point shooter now than he's ever been in his career. And beyond that, his feel just seems better. Like over the last month, he still doesn't finish at the rim at a high level. He's not like an elite finisher, but I do think he's gotten better at not decelerating into traffic, but using that deceleration change of pace to get himself out of traffic. Before, it felt like sometimes he would, hop on one foot and then be like caught on one foot and get a guy in his back and be like, well, I don't have the explosiveness to like get out of here. But I think he's done a much better job of like changing speed and getting to not just fast to slow, but fast to slow to fast again. He's been a lot better there, and hitting those medium speeds along the way. I think his decision-making as a passer has always been like, he's a good simple passer, but sometimes he gets a little greedy. I think the greediness has kind of been a little bit slower, and he's playing well. DeAndre Ayton's had a really nice stretch of basketball over the last couple weeks. Denny's obviously hooping. He's been hooping for 2 months. Tumani's been hooping for a while too. Is this team good? Yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. Don't look at the play-in. Don't worry about that. That's another thing. And like, obviously they might pull the plug and make this whole experiment feel weird. But yes, they're playing their best basketball. And yes, they're playing really well. And it feels like a thing because, like I mentioned with the Denny stuff, I don't know if this is like sustainable in terms of the winning, but it does seem sustainable in terms of like they have enough parts that can be good enough on any night to be competitive. And then you start to see like, well, they don't have that A+ frontline star, but they have enough interesting pieces that if they ever mistaken into that one way or another, boy, are they closer than maybe I thought. Now, this could change quickly. I'm not stamping it, right? But I feel better about where they are than I have at any point over the last 2 years because they're getting more contributions from different places, and they can have guys have bad nights and you don't notice it. Like Rob Williams hasn't played the last 2 games. You haven't noticed it. DA's been hooping. Rob hasn't played and Donovan McClingan's barely played, and you haven't noticed it because DA's been hooping. But DeAndre Ayton missed 3 games, and the Blazers went 2-1 in those games. They've also been hooping without DA. Like they get it done in a bunch of different ways. So I'll mention this here. I do get emails about whether they're winning too much, and I'll offer this thought: shut up, shut up, shut up. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. There's going to come a time after the All-Star break where they might lie about injuries and bench your favorite players and play a bunch of 10-day dudes you've never heard of. We'll see what level they go to there, but they might do that. And that's going to stink. That's going to be unfun. Those are going to be basketball games you don't want to watch, and you're going to feel gross about where they are. So instead of worrying about ping pong balls, when they beat the snot out of teams, just enjoy it. Shut up. I think there are times when you could say like, maybe they are winning too much. And sure, they probably didn't envision themselves winning 19 games at this point in the season, right? But they're 19-29. It's not like they're still, they've just been really good the last 2 weeks. And when they easily beat the Bucks and they easily beat the Magic, I think you just got to let it go. There's time for worrying, and certainly I've done my share of it here, but this is the important part of being a fan. If you can't enjoy stuff, it's not worth it. And right now, they're playing well. Enjoy it and make the whole experience of this at least mildly rewarding without freaking out about Asa Newell or whatever. It'll take care of itself, and maybe when you look back on it, it'll feel like, well, that was really dumb. Why were they so good in January? But I think one of the challenges in life is like sitting with it and being in the moment and like, sit with this. They were really good in January. Enjoy that part because if you don't hold on to your joy, you never get to keep it. That is going to do it for this week of shows. We'll be back next week. What we do, 5 of them, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Tell your people about the program. I usually say tell your friends, tell your people, tell your enemies. You got a coworker at work you don't like? Tell them about Locked On Blazers. You got an uncle who's a little bit annoying? Tell them about Locked On Blazers. You got a neighbor and she's always like, letting her cat out into your yard? Tell her about Locked On Blazers. Tell your people and then come back for 5 shows next week. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.